want you to think of my left hand as your expectations and my right hand as reality. That space or gap between my hands, that's disappointment. And the wider the gap, the greater the amount of disappointment we feel. Now, I'm not a gambler. You'll never find me at a casino, but I would bet both my businesses right now that all of you have been in this gap called disappointment. Why so? In 2 words, that's life. We have our ups and our downs. Not everything goes our way or according to plan, right? I think it's very safe to assume as long as we're alive, we'll be in this gap from time to time called disappointment, where our expectations and reality just don't meet. But when you think of it, society tries to tell us that disappointment is a bad thing. I've heard friends telling other good friends, you better not get your hopes up for that job. There's 30 other people that the company is interviewing. You should count on them not offering it to you. That way you won't be disappointed when that doesn't happen. Horrible advice. Or in my occupation as a real estate broker, our market is hot and I have so many buyers tell me after I've shown them their dream home, well, Denni, we don't want to place an offer because we saw the line of other buyers coming to look at the house and our chance won't be that great and we just don't want to be disappointed. So we'll pass on this one. And I'll tell them, yes, it's a hot market. There will probably be multiple offers, but you're highly qualified and I can structure the contract to make you look very favorable. And maybe another person will get their contract accepted, but maybe they back out during the due diligence period, or maybe their financing falls through. And then the agent calls me saying, hey, Denni, your buyer's still interested? But that will never happen if you let the fear of disappointment get the best of you, stop you from placing the offer at all. There's many people that the fear of disappointment has a hold, it has a grip on their life. It's preventing them from taking risks, calculated risks that would get them moving forward in life. I know very well because for many years, I struggled with the fear of disappointment. And I'll share a little bit of my story in hopes that it helps you if you can relate, or maybe you know somebody who can. I got to take you back to my childhood, to the small mill town of Westbrook, Maine. My mother was a single parent on welfare, and she had a mental illness called bipolar disorder, also known as manic depression. Although her chemical imbalance was severe, she could live a relatively normal life on the right combinations of medications. But every now and then something would trigger her, or she would stop taking the medication, as many bipolar patients sometimes do. And it wasn't long before she would either have extreme periods of euphoria, where scale of 1 to 10, her energy level was a 15. She could go 3-4 days without sleeping. Or she could slip into that deep, dark depression where she wouldn't get dressed, where she wouldn't get out of the house, where she would sleep most of the time. When she had these episodes, she became very unreliable. Any commitment she made, not only to me, but to anybody, it went right out the window. At a young age, I learned what disappointment was, but I never let it get the best of me. I was in kindergarten when I made up my mind one day I would go to college. I saw a great life for myself. I didn't see the fact that we were on welfare. In high school, I was super focused, and it was then that I discovered I hated the cold and snow and was going to live in a place that was sunny and warm year-round. And whenever I would share my plans with my family, friends, parents of friends, even some teachers, I would hear, you know, Denny, you're a smart girl, but you need to lower your expectations. I mean, these dreams, oh, honey, they're not possible for somebody like you. If you don't lower your expectations, you'll end up very disappointed one day. But I was a free spirit. I did not listen. I went for what was in my heart. I applied to a university in California and got accepted. I ended up deciding to save some money after high school, so I didn't go to that school. And then, due to a job in healthcare, I changed my plans. I found a program in Buffalo, New York, that was exactly what I wanted. And I was going to start off by getting my associate's degree. And once Mom found out what my plans were, she let me know she didn't approve. She said, Denny, the school doesn't even have dorms. Where are you going to live? How are you going to work and go to school? You can't do it. This isn't high school. You're going to fail out. But I didn't listen. I shuffled off to Buffalo. And first semester, I got a 4.0. Mom wasn't that impressed because I was only going part-time. But second semester, I went full-time. I told myself, you are not doing a 2-year program in 3 years. You're going to do it in 2. Second semester, working full-time, going to school full-time, another 4.0. I did get a congratulations from Mom this time. Third semester, after another 4.0, Mom and I had a heart-to-heart talk. She said, I didn't think you'd be able to do it. I thought you were too young, but I am so proud of you that next semester when you graduate, I'm flying to New York. As much as I hate to travel, I'm going to be there for you. And I looked forward to her coming. And it gets down to a week before graduation, and my grandmother calls me. Denny, I don't really know how to tell you this. Your mom, she's having one of her episodes, and it's bad. I waited to call you because I was hoping she'd come out of it, but it's been 3 weeks. Just sleeps. She's very depressed. Honey, she's not going to make it to your graduation. But do you know I didn't give up? Bipolar disorder can be very unpredictable. So I said, she knows how hard I worked. She'll be there. She'll come out of this. So my big night comes. I stand in the line of graduates. And finally, my name is called. I hear Denny Jordan. I walk across stage. I take my diploma, shake the dean's hand. The crowd applauds. But my mother was not sitting in the audience to cheer me on, as she promised. That night, my expectations and what reality had slammed me in the face with, it felt like the distance from here to China. And I can tell you, ladies, that it was that night, subconsciously, that I decided I never wanted to feel the pain of disappointment again, nor did I want to disappoint anybody. So I played life very safe, still stayed in school, went on to the University of Buffalo, still maintained a 4.0 GPA, but I had no direction. I was all over the place, trying to find the safest career. Counselors would sit with me and say, you said you wanted to go to medical school. Are you going to do it? You have the grades. And I would tell them, I'm only interested in ophthalmology. That's very competitive. I can't handle the disappointment if they reject me. I can still see the frustrated looks on their face. Them telling me, you don't know unless you try. But I didn't listen. I ended up with a degree in ophthalmic technology, I moved to Miami in 1997 after graduating, ended up in a dead-end job that I was miserable in. And finally, after a couple years, I did meet two amazing people, and we started a real estate business together. In 2002, I left ophthalmology and I became a full-time realtor. And if you know anything about real estate, it can be an extremely disappointing field because there's a lot out of my control. I can represent you as a buyer, I can show you the home, I can do everything right, and maybe you don't get the house for something that's totally out of my control. I didn't like calling people with bad news. I sabotaged my own success. I showed my lack of self-confidence. Finally, in 2010, after reaching rock bottom, I embarked on a serious personal development journey. And a few years into it, I realized that if I didn't conquer this fear of disappointment, I would live a life of mediocrity the rest of my days. It wasn't an easy journey, but I did it. And I have some tips for overcoming the fear of disappointment. The first thing is to surround yourself with people who support. And I don't mean people who always tell you what you want to hear, who just pat you on the back all the time. You need people that are going to hold you to that level 10 and not allow you to be a level 5. People who will kick you in the butt if you even think of letting the fear of disappointment stop you from going on. You need to study successful people because most of them have endured a lot of disappointment. Jack Canfield, author of Chicken Soup for the Soul. I believe that book was rejected by 144 publishers. Yet it's touched so many people. What if Jack let the fear of disappointment get the best of you? Or one of my mentors, J.B. Glossinger, founder of Morning Coach. If you've never heard of him, Google him. He's making a mark on the world. He left a 6-figure-a-year job several years ago, wanted to change the world, had a dream of writing a book. His first book, Get Out of Neutral, didn't sell very many copies initially. He felt like giving up. He would have a speaking engagement where one person would show up and they would leave after 5 minutes. But he started a podcast and he's touched so many people's lives. One member who had cancer said, JB, you were there with me in my treatments. You kept me going. Another lady living in Europe who was a victim of domestic violence. JB was her only 15 minutes of positivity a day. This man was beating her and her kids, and through listening to him, she got up the courage to leave and come to the United States. What if JB had given up because of his fear of disappointment? The world needed JB. The world needs you and your great idea, so you have to keep going. You can't let that fear of disappointment get you. We need to change our perception towards disappointment. We need to realize it will always be there. Sometimes our greatest achievement comes after our greatest disappointment. It can get us to that next level. And sometimes we look back on something that happened 10 years ago and realize that disappointment was the greatest thing for us because now we have something 20 times better. And the last thing we need to realize about disappointment, and I think one of the greatest things, is that disappointment can allow us to contribute beyond ourselves. And that's really what I hope I did here this morning.